Welcome to Road to the Great British Bake Off.
I got itty bitty cupcakes.
My name's Shelley. I'm a really amateur baker.
Probably not a successful bake.
And I'm spending 2021 working my way through Bake Off challenges. Every month, I'm tackling a theme, like Cake Week or Bread Week, using real tasks and technicals, and holding myself to the same time limits as past contestants. It's just like pre-season training. So join me, and let's see what happens.
It's part 2 of Cake Week, and I'm going to be doing my first ever technical bake. Today it is Prue's mini chocolate rolls from the 2020 Bake Off series. And the challenge is to make 12 identical mini rolls. And what else? I think that's it. Yeah, each has to have a delicate chocolate sponge, a swirl of peppermint buttercream, and be covered in chocolate. So, sounds simple. I'm actually feeling pretty confident about this one. We've all seen Swiss rolls. I'm very familiar with Hostess Ho-Hos and Cadbury rolls here. So, at least this is something I've heard of. And for the recipe, I'll be using a genuine technical set of instructions as taken from the tent itself, rather than go on the website, on the Bake Off website, and use the recipe there, which tends to be more complete and detailed. I am a bit of a nerd. I take this far too seriously. So I have watched the episode, scrubbed, fast forwarded through with my eyes closed, the part where they jump to the tent for Prue and Paul to talk about the technical, and then freezed the video whenever they showed the actual printed recipe on screen and copied everything down. So all of these recipes should be good and vague, giving us all a chance to replicate a little bit of tent life in our own kitchens. So yeah, let's get started and see how this one goes. I have pre-measured everything because this the time limit on this is 45 minutes. So I thought, just get everything pre-measured, kind of stir-fry style. That way I don't have to waste any time measuring stuff out as I go, because I've discovered, I think this is like my 3rd or 4th video, it eats up a bit of time stopping and starting to film, and which impacts me being able to meet these time targets. So I did this instead. So we have the cocoa powder, the butter, which is going to melt. This is my row for the batter stuff. This is my row for the filling, and this is my row for the coating. So cocoa powder, butter, vanilla, egg yolks, caster sugar. I actually ran out of caster sugar on my last bake, so I just took regular granulated sugar and blitzed it a little bit in the food processor to make it a little bit more fine. Don't know if that's a thing, but hopefully it'll work. And then for the filling, butter, icing sugar, and peppermint essence. If anybody cares, that's the one I'm using. And then dark chocolate, 70% cocoa solids, milk chocolate, and white chocolate with coating. Okay, so for the first steps in this technical are to preheat the oven to 170, which I'm doing at the minute. I also need melted butter, so that's in there melting, and I'm to make a paste with cocoa butter, no, not cocoa butter, that would be a disgusting cake, with cocoa, butter, vanilla, and boiling water, and then whisk the egg yolks and 2/3 of the sugar, and then mix that egg yolk with the dry ingredients. So I'm gonna get that started, and already I'm down to how many minutes? Crikey, it says I'm 16 minutes into my 45 minutes. So, or that's wrong actually. I only have 16 minutes left. This is gonna be a bit of a race. Make sure I get all of that vanilla goodness out. Okay, so my clock's ticking away, but I've got my creamy chocolate and egg yolk mixture, and now I gotta beat up a meringue. Well, technically, it says whisk the egg whites with the remaining sugar and combine the two mixtures. So this is not unlike the signature bake I did with the meringue cake base. So I'm gonna do that. All right, so we've got a meringue, quite clearly thick enough, it's hanging onto the batter, or the beater, or the whisker, whatever it is. So fold this in. Just gonna fold this in like 3 stages. Now if you're looking at the quantities here and thinking, that doesn't look like 6 eggs worth of meringue, you'd be right. There's a few reasons for that, 2 in fact. One is that this project gets expensive when you're doing full recipes, like putting in 300 grams of chocolate nibs. So I've halved the recipe. The other reason is COVID has not been kind to my waistline. So instead of 12 identical Swiss rolls, I am going to make 6. So let's get this onto the pan. It said to grease the pan, but I know from experience that when you roll these things, it's a bit of a trick, and it helps to have this backing on it. So I'm going to do it this way and hope it doesn't affect things too negatively. So you can hear the timer going. That's my time up. So if this were a real technical, they'd be getting this beautiful uncooked pudding mush. So made the batter, cake's in the oven. I put it in on the lowest rack again because that worked well with my rebake of the last sponge that I made. And then I've just made the icing. It's okay. Looks like icing. I didn't measure out the peppermint, so just did it to taste. I think it's a little bit strange that they're putting peppermint in a Swiss roll. It wouldn't be my favorite choice, but yeah. So I've just made the icing, so I've got to wait for this sponge to finish, cool it, and then I'm going to spread the filling over it, and then roll from the short end so that it meets in the middle, and I'm going to cut into 6 even mini rolls. Okay, just testing whether this is done or not. My second camera was a douche and it died on me. I mean, it's very soft. I guess you want your sponge to be soft, don't you? I'm actually not sure. It's starting to get crispy on the edges, so I kind of want to stop it there. And now the instructions are to roll it from the narrow end towards the center from both sides. I'm gonna pre-roll this now while it's still in its wrapper, because even though it still has to cool, it'll take a bit of the shape and will make it a little bit easier to roll when it's fully cooled. I'm gonna remove it from this pan as well. Just to help it cool a bit faster. All right, so what I've done is I've rolled it from each end, and it's pretty warm. So I've set it outside. It's January, I'm hoping that'll help it cool faster. So once it's cool, I gotta spread the buttercream frosting on the inside of it, re-roll it, and then coat it in the chocolate. Now, I'm hesitant to start the melted chocolate until I know the thing is completely cooled and has the icing in it, because I've had problems with chocolate before. If you overheat it, it all starts to kind of get gross and hard in the bowl, so I want to be able to actually use it as soon as it's ready, just to avoid any issues. Alright, I feel like it's cool enough. I'm going to unroll it a bit. A bit of cracking happening, but I think if I can get this on fast, it'll be okay. Be alright on the night. My son bought me a brand new spready spatula thing for Christmas. Perfect chance to try it out. Not the most spreadable buttercream ever, but we'll just take our time. We're already over time anyway, so it's a bit more time over time. No. Come on, buttercream. This is not going well, and here was me thinking the buttercream was soft enough to spread. Shows how little I work with frosting. Alright. What I've learned there is work the buttercream with your spatula before, and get it nice and soft before you attempt to spread it, because it was not happy about that process. Alright, we're going to try a roll again and peel it back from the paper, this time to the center. Center equals what? Say, well, there, that's where it started. That's where it started, not where it started, so at about 15 centimeters should be center. No! It's a nightmare. It's sticking to the paper. I'm working too slowly, I think. Hopefully those most broken bits will only live on the inside, not the outside. Okay, so I think what I have to do, it doesn't say it, but I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to cut down the center here. At my 15 centimeter point, which is about there. Each of these. So I'm going to do them sideways, like that. Line them up. Eat that. I'm going to cut off the end. On each of them, where I feel like there's no filling. We're a bit skimpy on the filling there. Kinda see the swirls, kinda. Okay, so that means that each of these is now, ooh, nearly 18 centimeters long. So actually, if I take a little bit more from each, that should make it possible for me to do into 3, dead easy. 3 exact. That's exactly 18. That's exactly. All right, so 6, 6, and 6 is my marker then. 6, 12,
should be identical in length anyway. Just gonna wet my knife because it's getting really caught in the icing. It's pulling down on me. Cake more than I would like it to. But then do not touch the cake with wet hands, Shelley. That probably would not be a good idea. Okay, over here we're just getting our dark chocolate and milk chocolate melted down for the coating process. Alright, so it says melt the plain and milk chocolate together, which I've done, and then cover the rolls, leaving the base uncovered. So it doesn't tell you how to cover the rolls, so what I'm going to do as a starting point is dip this ends, because I think it's going to get hard to get the chocolate over those particularly well. And then at least I know there's no peekaboo buttercream coming out anywhere. I'm sure this is not a professional way to do it. I'm probably getting all sorts of like crumbs in my beautiful glistening chocolate. But I'm not a professional. Okay. And then, I think I'm just going to use a spoon. Spoon this stuff on. Oh goodness, it is running. I guess that's what you want. So help it along down the sides there. And then I'll come and do an extra layer with the leftovers in a minute. A pure drizzle layer, I think. Okay, time to decorate. I'm not sure how you do this identically, but do our best. I want to use a fork method. Okay, so that's the Swiss rolls done, or the mini rolls. Definitely didn't do it in the time. I think I'm at 102 minutes now, so definitely didn't do it in 45 minutes, but they look okay. Obviously the white decoration isn't identical, but hopefully the size is. Just gotta let them cool now and cut them open and see how they look. So here they are all finished. I'm really happy with them. They look like chocolate Swiss rolls, and at least from the outside, I don't think I would be in the bottom in the scoring. You can see on the inside they've got a proper swirl. I think Prue would approve of that. And let's see if you can see that. It's not underdone. It's got a nice spongy, greeny texture. My chocolate might be a little bit too thick here on the top, where I did my second layer just to give it a good second coating, so maybe that was a bit overkill, but otherwise, I'm happy. And they taste good. I would have cut down the peppermint though, just a bit, but actually overdoing it in the frosting, when it's countered with all that chocolate, it cuts it a wee bit. So it's not the end of the world. Alright, that's all for today. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.